All right, guys, so a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes later, I just picked up a new starter. I actually called my local AutoZone here by my house and called them around 10 in the morning. They told me that they had this specific starter for this vehicle in stock at a different store, different location, but they ended up bringing it to the closest location to my house, AutoZone again. And I just picked it up. It's all good. It's a match as I expected, but it's always nice to double check. So getting to this point, I'm gonna say this, guys. It's definitely doable. I did it. I removed it. If you watch some other videos, you know, you don't have to remove the oil dipstick tube or anything like that. You just have to move some harnesses around, disconnect the O2 sensor, and obvious, you have to remove the exhaust. That's just what it is. So you got to deal with 4 studs on top, 2 studs on the bottom. Obviously you have 4 nuts on top, 2 nuts on the bottom. You got to use a 15 mil socket. 3/4 drive is a must with the extension. But I'm going to say this. If I had to do this over again, I would definitely pre-soak the bottom studs for sure. Penetrating oil of your choice, PB Blast, WD-40, whatever. Specifically in rust belts or just in northern, you know, states where they use salt, you got to do that. I was actually in shock. I was about ready to say I'm either going to need PB Blast or I'm going to have to apply some heat, but I was shocked that I was able to break it loose. Obviously, you got to use a right socket. You got to use right tools, and I was able to get that. But without removing the top and the bottom bolts, or the nuts in this case, you're going to be dead in the water. There's no way you can get to the starter. As far as wiring your cables that go to the starter, that little ground strap actually bolts up to the bell housing, has nothing to do with the starter. Then you got 2 power cables running to it. You got your main power, and then you have a trigger. So essentially, that's your 12 volts to get sent to the starter solenoid to start the vehicle. Now, I'm going to say this. I will do a much better job. I'll clean the camera and I'll show you guys the reinstall process, and hopefully it will make it very, very clear for you guys where everything goes. I know I'm going to struggle with the exhaust, getting everything lined up. But yeah, it's doable. Now, as far as the starter, this vehicle is a 2019 XT5 with 67,000 miles on it. So is it age of the vehicle, the conditions? I don't know. Yes, there is a front oil leak, which I have to fix later this year. No, and it's not valve covers. I already replaced valve covers on this vehicle, and that's not it. So I'm assuming this is the start of auto start issues, starter issues that we're going to see on all of these vehicles that have this option. I'm pretty sure at this point all of them do, right? It's better for the environment. I understand that, but the extra cycles of the starter every time you come to a stop, I think is what kills it. I really believe it. But to kind of close this out, I did troubleshoot. I checked for power, I checked for ground, I checked all the fuses with a voltmeter, I checked the relay, I checked to make sure the power was going out to the starter, which it was, but it wasn't starting the vehicle. And I could smell just burnt wires, right? Burnt coil, burnt windings, essentially. You could still smell it on the back of the starter. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to go through the phases, you know, unfortunately, and you know, and it is what it is at this point. But I'll show you guys how to put it all together. The troubleshoot process, like I said, it's pretty simple. And the dead giveaway was this individual was driving the vehicle. You have to understand, this vehicle came on a flatbed to my house. They came to a stop. The engine shuts off. They let off the brake. Engine is still off. They put in park. They manually cycled the engine. It started for the last time. A mile down the road, they caught another red light. This time, the starter was dead, and that's it. And the symptoms: get in the vehicle, full power, everything is good. Push to start. You just hear a click of a relay, and that's it. So, all right, later on, we're gonna do our reinstall portion of the video. It's raining right now. You know, so we're not going to work on it today. Tomorrow, hopefully, it's better weather. I'll clean everything up. Like I said, record a better reinstall video. This is all going to be in one part, and then we'll go from there. All right, so almost forgot. Here is the new starter. Obviously, I'm done for the day. It started raining literally as I got done with removing the old starter. So this is a Duralast. Here is the part number. Once again, I need to correct myself. This is a 2018 XT5 Cadillac with a 3.6 V6, but I'm sure that this starter, this engine covers a bunch of years. So I noticed that I did say 2019 in one of portions of the video, but yeah, so here's the starter. Here's the new starter here. So once again, the starter sits like this in the vehicle, okay, towards the transmission. This is your main positive, so this is your constant 12 volt. This little dummy cap comes off, and that's where your trigger goes. Essentially sends 12 volt to the solenoid there to engage and disengage the starter. Other than that, it's pretty much identical. I mean, the original one that I removed was original. It's a GM on it. So price-wise, $310.57. That is with the $40 off for the core. So since I had the starter off, I brought it in. They charge $40 for the core. So if you were to buy it, it would have been $350.47. So pretty expensive starter, but you know, it is what it is. $310.57. Regardless if you bring the starter or if you bring the starter later after you change it out, swap it out, but still beats, you know, I don't know what the charge would be at a dealership. You know, $800, $1,000, I'm not really sure. And yeah, so tomorrow we'll get to the reassembly. Alrighty, so it's the next day. Much better lighting. So I'm going to show you guys. So this is the top view. Obviously this is the intake manifold. This is the front of the engine. The radiator is right here. So I'm going to send you guys into the starter cavity, and that's where yep, there you go. So this is where the starter cavity is, right there. So if you look through, let's try to zoom in again. And of course, get out of focus here. There we go. So that is the starter cavity there, right in this area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to proceed with the reinstall. Once again, you have a bolt. This is the bolt right here, one of the bolts. This is the threaded bolt. So, and it's also the longer bolt that goes in this way. Then you have one. It's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can put my, and nope, of course not. That wouldn't be that easy. So you have another one you can see right there. And that's where the second bolt lives. As you can see, it's threaded. There's two, but you only use one because of the orientation. So one goes from the transmission side, and then one on the bottom goes towards the transmission side. Alrighty, let's get this show on the road. Alright, so here's the new starter. Once again, goes in like this. Threaded side, that's your longer bolt, which is this one here. The shorter bolt goes into, I want to say, yeah, this hole right here. Yep, this hole right here. So we'll get that put in place. One of the first things you guys want to do is connect this trigger wire, this harness here, and it plugs into right here. That way, once you get the starter in position, you can just slide it in and not have to worry about it, because once it's Once the starter is in the flywheel or the bell housing cavity, it's going to be pretty hard getting to this connection here. And once again, this is your positive constant 12 volt. This is your trigger. This would actually send signal to let the starter know, go ahead and turn the vehicle over. All right, so try getting this in, and I noticed there were like 2 pieces of plastic on each side. I think they were preventing the plug, the OEM plug, to fully insert into this 2-pin connector. So I'm going to try that again. I don't know if it was just like some flashing or whatever on this connector, but let me fish it back through. And fishing the starter through, just go in between all the cables and harnesses. That's the beauty about doing the stuff this way. And let's see if it plugs in. All right, so that's exactly what it was. Those 2 little, we'll say just raised surfaces. I just have to I had to just essentially just snap them off with my finger. But now the starter is in place. There's the starter. You got the connector connected to it, as far as the one that I showed you. Also has a red safety clip. Now I have to put this shielding over and start putting the bolts into the starter. All right, guys, so to give you a reference point, here's my ratchet. I think it's a little bit of an overkill using a 3/4 drive, but I'm coming in, you guys can see, here is the ratchet, and you'll see an extension, and let's zoom in even further. As you guys can see, it's running behind the starter. That's where your back bolt is. And the front one is right there. You're staring at it. So, kind of a pain in the butt, but it's definitely doable, little by little, quarter turns. All right, and this here is the reference point for the front bolt. So here's the ratchet in between the engine and transmission. And there it is. Here's the socket there, obviously without extension. All right, so we reached another milestone here. So I got, obviously, the 2 bolts in. I have the main power strip. This is your main 12 volt cable reran behind this bracket, just like it was. It mounts to the starter. There's just a retainer there, and then using a 13 mil, so there's the retainer, and then using a 13 mil, there you go, it goes on your positive post. Here's that trigger cable, kind of tucked in. So if you're removing this, you can remove this, the main 12 volt terminal, but you're gonna have to wait till the starter is out to actually remove the trigger cable or that harness. All right, so now it's the heat shield time. So the heat shield goes on, and after that, the exhaust can be reassembled. All right, so here's the heat shield. I'm about to get in position, start these bolts here. These are also 10 mil socket. Everything here is either a 10 mil socket, 13, or a 15 if you're doing this job. 13 mil is the main power lead going to the starter. Everything else is a 10 or a 15, including the exhaust, top and bottom.